Good morning. Hi, Jasmine. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, Lisa?
I am great. So, we are doing our second in our series. Before we get really into it, if we could just take your phone right now, we want to make sure that our family, friends, all that good stuff know. So, we should be live on the Omicron Oops on Omega page. I'm going to scroll down to see. Do you see it? You
Yep,
see us
I'm
live?
here right now.
All right. So what I want you to do is go ahead and share that. As I can't, mine is I can't see mine yet, but you share it and then I'll share it, and then all of the members of Omicron Oops on Omega, as you all are checking in, I encourage you to grab your phones and share it on your personal pages to make sure that everyone we know gets this beneficial information. All right, we're going to give them one more minute, Jasmine. And as you come in, folks, I'm going to encourage you to drop in the feed. Let us know you're here. Check in with us. Let us know that you have tuned in to our live. There's Regina's here this morning. Good morning, Regina. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to check. We're going to give it a few minutes, Jazz.
Okay.
Are you excited about today's topic or what?
I am very excited. So I have my questions here. I'm ready to dig in and get some gems from our amazing panelists. I'm very excited.
Awesome. All right. Well, the people are coming in. Welcome, folks. Make sure that all of you are checking in. Make sure you do a share. Share it one more time. Make sure that this information leaves this one space. Make sure it leaves the Omicron Upsilon Omega. Share it with your friends in other areas. This is all about resources. And so we really want to get the word out. I'm going to fix my camera a little bit. All right. So I will give a quick hello, and I will turn it over to you, Jasmine, as our moderator, and really looking forward to it. So let me do a quick welcome. So good morning, everyone. I am Lisa Bennett, president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Omicron Upsilon Omega chapter. I am so excited. As you can see, I can barely contain myself to welcome you this morning. Omicron Upsilon Omega has served the Norwalk and Stanford communities for over 35 years. We serve through the 5 target areas outlined by Alpha Kappa Alpha. These include Target 1, HBCU, Call to Action, and our signature program, #CAP, College Acceptance Program. Target 2, Women's Health and Wellness. Target 4, the Arts. Target 5, Global Impact. And I bet you think I forgot one, but I didn't. Target 3, Building Your Economic Legacy. The broadcast today is brought to you by that hardworking target. This is their second workshop in a series, and it's designed to help you build your economic wealth and build your impact and your legacy. If you missed the first episode, I strongly encourage you to go back and watch it on our Facebook and YouTube channels. You will not, I highly encourage it. We got so much positive feedback on that, and it had a broad reach. I want to again thank the Building Economic Legacy Committee with Valerie Adams Baker as the chair and a long list of committee members. I am not going to list them all because I'm afraid I'm going to forget someone, but we will drop those in the chat as we go on throughout the day, because this committee has worked so hard and they deserve the recognition. I sincerely appreciate the committee's work in being innovative and providing exemplary virtual programming. It's been amazing. Thank you to Kirsten Harris, our technology chair, and of course today's moderator, who has about as much energy as me, Jasmine Shockness, who will do a great job. I hope you are ready to be inspired by today's panelist. Please share your questions in the comment section. And again, we welcome you and thank you for joining us. Please share, and then share one more time. Jasmine, I am turning it over to you, and have a great event today.
Thank you, Lisa. Once again, my name is Jasmine Shockness. I'll be moderating this amazing event. I'm personally very excited. I think we have some amazing panelists to share some really great resources and drop some gems. We're living in a very interesting time, and there is no reason why we all can't be successful, but just sharing resources with one another. And I am a part of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Omicron Upsilon Omega chapter, very proud member. So I'm ready to get started. So do we want to bring in our panelists? Hi, Vince.
Hi.
Hi, Cora. Hi, Ebony.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, all.
Hello.
And we have Conchita. Okay, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to read your bios. I will say again, you guys have an amazing experience. So I'm really excited to dig in, but I'll just do the formalities now. So we'll start with Ebony Gordon. Hi, Ebony.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. So Ebony Gordon is the owner of Hairista Studio in Hampton, Virginia, and the founder and CEO of Hairista Essentials, multifunctional accessories for all hair types. From the very beginning, Ebony envisioned Hairista as a beautiful acronym meaning hair is the accessory. Hairista LLC was created in 2012, and in April 2014, Hairista Studio opened just blocks away from her alma mater, Hampton University, where she earned a Bachelor of Science in Marketing. Hairista Studio is best known for providing exceptional beauty services, specializing in healthy hair and flawless color and extensions that are personalized for each client. And this is not in her bio, but I just have to add that she is a new mommy of a beautiful little girl. So we'll just again welcome Ebony.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody.
So next panelist is Cora Miller. Cora Miller is co-founder and CEO of Young King Hair Care, the first multicultural beauty and wellness brand for young men. Inspired by her son, she and her husband launched this company in December 2019 with a mission to redefine male grooming for the next generation. Cora has nearly 10 years of experience as a leader in corporate social responsibility, program development, and communications. Previously, she was the VP of External Affairs for United Health Group, where she developed innovative approaches and oversees the implementation of social responsibility initiatives, including the management of strategic partnerships and evaluation of investment outcomes. Good morning, Cora.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So next panelist, we have Conchita Tucker. Conchita Tucker is the president of Tucker Technology Incorporated, TTI, a national telecommunications contracting company. In her role as president, she manages a staff of over 250 telecommunications professionals. She has led her team to successfully support several wireline and wireless network deployment, including 4G for AT&T, Sprint, and Verizon Wireless. Prior to assuming the role of president of TTI, Conchita worked in various roles, honing in on her general management and business development skills. In the area of profit and loss management, she has been able to consistently deliver profit margins well above expectations, while delivering record year-over-year revenue growth of over 200%. Conchita holds a Bachelor of Science in Marketing from St. John University and a Master's in Business Administration from Harvard Business School. Conchita is a proud mom of a 7-year-old son. Good morning, Conchita.
Good morning. Excited to be here.
Awesome. And last but certainly not least, we have Vincent Murphy, or Vince. And Vince is a retired business executive, having spent 30 plus years in leadership roles across a variety of industries. He currently consults for profit and nonprofit enterprises and recently served as president of Norwalk Community College Foundation Board of Directors. For the past 5 years, Mr. Murphy has led and participated in local and regional initiatives, designed and innovative approaches to student and community business creation, education within network of community colleges. He's also the partner of seed funding venture for college business startups and sits on advisory council of State of Connecticut's CT Next public and private business startup initiatives. If that isn't enough, Vince is the husband of Beverly Jordan Murphy and proud father of 2 sons, and is an enthusiastic reader and hobby novelist. So I will have to say, when I read everyone's bio, I was just like blown away. So again, good morning. We're so happy to start this, and I'm just going to jump into questions. So I want to start off with Conchita. So did you always know that you would be an entrepreneur?
So let me first say that sometimes I feel a little bit like imposter syndrome when I'm with folks like Ebony and Cora, who are like true entrepreneurs, because my entrepreneurship journey is a little bit different. So let me just start off by saying that, because, you know, Ebony and Cora really started their businesses from scratch, where I actually began working with my father, who actually founded the company, and then my brother and I bought him out a few years ago. So did I always know I wanted to be an entrepreneur? I would say no, because I didn't really, like, I would see my dad working all hours of the night, working from home in a little bedroom in our house. And I was like, well, that's what I don't want to do. Like if that's being an entrepreneur, that's not what I'm interested in. So I didn't think I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I thought that, I wanted to do something where I would be able to, you know, make money, but I didn't want to have the responsibility of doing everything, right? Because that's what I saw my dad doing everything, like doing the payroll and doing the hiring and doing the sales and picking out new office space, all that type of stuff. It just seemed like it was too much. So I didn't always know I wanted to be an entrepreneur. It was something that eventually came to me when I felt like, hey, of all the things that I can do, this is the thing that's pulling me. This is where I'm feeling the most energy and the most passion towards.
Yeah. Ebony, would you like to go next?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for that, Conchita. But, I feel like that was such a blessing for you, that was generationally a business that was passed down, So either way, it's one of those things that, it's a blessing, depending on if you grew up in it or if you, started from scratch. For myself, no, I did not always plan to be an entrepreneur. And I'm going to be completely honest. I wasn't even really aware of what it meant to be a real entrepreneur until I went to college. I knew that I loved money. Okay. Just to be transparent. So I knew that I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what. So it was kind of like my journey through college kind of led me into like, oh, wow, I can work for myself and I can, be my own CEO and still make money and do things that I love. So it was something that I kind of fell into. So no, I didn't always plan on it, but it's definitely been a blessing.
Great. And Cora, can you answer the question?
Yeah, happy to. And yes, I totally agree with you, Ebony and Conchita. The fact that you were able to be a part of your family's business is just so amazing. So like huge shout out, kudos to you for being able to do that and having that be a part of your family. Similar to Ebony, though, again, I think we're all kind of landing in the same spot where, no, I didn't think I was going to be an entrepreneur either. I was totally focused, heads down in my corporate career, just climbing the ladder, earning promotions like every other year, just kind of doing my damn thing. Oh, sorry, we probably shouldn't cuss. Doing my thing. And so, for me, I was fulfilled in that. But it really wasn't until I had my son that kind of my whole perspective changed. And so after having him and then, really wanting to create products for him and boys that look like him, that's when my entrepreneurial spirit really kicked in. And so, just doing a lot of research and Googling everything and just learning on my own, that's kind of what, put me in a place where I was still working my full-time corporate job. Like Ebony said, I like money. I needed money, like supporting my family, still doing that at the same time, building this business from the ground up until I was able to get to a point where I could retire from my corporate job and focus on the business full time. So all of that to say, no, I certainly didn't know entrepreneurship was for me, or the plan that God had laid out for me. But, thank God that I'm in this place now to be able to build a business that's really impacting Black and brown boys across the globe.
Yeah, so unique. Vince, I'm curious from you. You've worked with so many entrepreneurs. Like, are there, and it seems as though all these women have, they kind of, as they said, fall in the same category. But is there anything from your perspective in regards to characteristics that you see or do not see from entrepreneurs or people who are starting a business?
Well, so let me, I'll answer the question, but I want to back up a little bit to comment on what the ladies have said, because some really interesting comments in there. First of all, people get to entrepreneurship and business ownership from lots of different angles, lots of different directions, and we can see and hear this just in the answers that we've gotten so far. So ultimately, it takes perseverance and grit, but that can come from a lot of places. We have two on the panel, Ebony and Corey, who sort of started their businesses from scratch. We have one, Conchita, who so bought out the business from her father. But just to comment on the Conchita piece, one of the things that's most important about business and ownership and entrepreneurship is the whole aspect of generational wealth. So if you look at other segments of society, okay, and that we all know, a lot of them are doing well today because that has been, for lack of a better word, inherited. But I don't mean inherited as in somebody gave them the money. I mean inherited in the sense that the wealth was started someplace, it was built, and those lessons and the resources were passed down to others that know them. So everyone on this call is in that situation. Conchita was in that situation because it was started by her father, but Ebony and Cora are in that situation because they will build up their businesses and pass them down. So so number one, I didn't want the point to be lost that we're not only talking about how we all make money now, but we're talking about, especially when we speak of our community and what we need to do for the future, it's largely about passing down the wealth from generation to generation so that everyone after us gets a head start, right? Yeah. And in fact doesn't start from scratch. That's number one. Number two, in terms of, back to the direct question, in terms of what it takes, it takes a certain amount of determination, a certain amount of sense for risk. It takes a certain amount of being able to be in a position where you can take a risk, for that matter, and just passion about what you're doing. I mean, when you listen to Ebony and Cora, in terms of what they had a sort of a fundamental interest in and how they turned that into a business, that's often how that takes place. The space that I operate in, and again, unlike Ebony and Cora and even Conchita, I'm not sitting now in a business that I started outside of the fact that I have a consulting business, but it's not a sort of on the ground business like the other three. But so in the space that I operate in, I work on and provide sort of advice and counsel and programs for people who want to get in the types of businesses that we have represented on this panel here. Specifically, I've done most of my work with community colleges. So not only Norwalk Community College, where I'm on the board of directors of their foundation, but this other organization that I'm involved with, which is an investment company who has given money to Monroe Community College in Rochester, New York, and Wayne County Community College, which is a huge system in Detroit, Hillsborough in Tampa, and Middlesex, not the Connecticut Middlesex, but the Massachusetts Middlesex in Lowell, north of Boston. And what you'll find in that environment, in the community college environment, and there's a couple of points I want to make here, not to hog the conversation, but just a couple of points that I really want to emphasize here. You find a lot of people in the community college student population and the broader constituent population, because a lot of people are in and out of community college that aren't sort of degree students per se. Those are sort of bootstrapping, hardworking folks. A lot of them immigrants, but even the ones that aren't immigrants, who are from environments where this type of thing is important and where building wealth is important. Many of them, in fact, the vast majority of them, not from wealth. And what they've got, and what you find pervasive in the community college environment, is the same thing that you find in the other three panelists here. And that's a grit and a perseverance to get stuff done, and to be able to put your heart and soul into it, and to turn your passion and your expertise into something that's money making, and not only ends up in yourself being self-employed, but then ends up employing others and creating jobs for others like us. So it's a tremendous thing to do if you have the resources and the grit, and if you know where the other resources are. And I imagine there'll be questions later about what those resources might be that all of us will have different answers to. But so that in a nutshell is my perspective as to how people get into it and what that might lead to.
Yeah. So I have a ton of questions, but I think that one of the things I just want to touch on, especially in the beginning of this program, is, what it takes, that bootstraps. I think that when I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, there's that moment of self-doubt, like, but there's so many other companies like this, or they do it better, or like, what was the conversation that you had with yourself? Because, you can have as many mentors and sponsors and so many people advocating for you, but it really is you who have to like encourage yourself. So what was that internal conversation that you had and that you got yourself to like, I'm going to do this? Can you just speak on that? We can start with Cora.
Yeah, I think it goes back to a lot of what Vincent was saying. It takes a sense of hustle. You just have to have that mentality, that spirit, that drive, that perseverance to really get after what your ultimate end goal is. And so for me, there was plenty of days where I didn't even know if I had it in me. I was like, I've given all I have to give. Like, what else do you want? But it's, I always tell other founders, when I think about my story, it was really just staying focused on my why. And at the end of the day, I built this company for my son, Cade, so I can hand him a company when he's older. And so when I always go back to my why, that's what allowed me and pushed, both me and my husband, to hang up our 9 to 5s and then go work on the business till like 3 a.m. and get up and do it all again the next day. Right. So I think just having that spirit of hustle, of grind, of being focused on your why, that's what really pushes you to get through even the toughest of times, especially in the beginning when you're building your business and you're wondering how you're going to pay for it all. And I need capital and just things are not going right. But if you could just stay kind of grounded in that and keep going despite all odds, and always coming back to that why, you'll definitely be able to persevere through the toughest of storms.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else want to share?
Sure, I would love to share. What you said is so true, Cora. Having that self-doubt. And I will say as an entrepreneur, I definitely in the beginning, of course, had so much self-doubt, especially because I started at 27. I had no idea what I was doing in terms of me actually opening a brick and mortar. Like I knew how to do hair from behind the chair, but it was like, and I knew how to have good customer service, but in terms of actually running a business, it was kind of like, oh, I just stepped out into the deep end, But I would say as an entrepreneur, I still have self-doubt, even though my business has, it's been 7 years since I've opened, and about 3 years that I've had my product line. Every day I'm waking up with a little bit of doubt, because my industry is forever changing. So when I first started, I didn't know what my why was, to be honest. I just knew that I wanted to make money, and I knew, I like to make women feel good, and it was kind of like, I think that might be, an avenue I'm going to go down. But now I really, really focus on that. I love making women feel good, look good, and as a woman, that resonates with me, and men too, And now that I'm a new mom, it's like now like you said, Cora, that's definitely my real why. I want to be able to pass this on to her and show her that you can be anything that you want to be. You could do anything that you could put your mind to. So, that internal self-doubt is going to always be there, but I constantly have to push through it for my why. So.
Yeah, I think, Ebony, what you said about things changing and like it evolving, this business was founded in when we all had, I know Mr. Murphy will know this, Ebony and Corey, you guys are a little bit younger, and Jasmine, you guys are a little bit younger, but this business was founded when in your home, you might have 3 or 4 lines because you had a line for your fax machine. I'm sure nobody on Facebook even knows what a fax machine is, but you had a line. You had a line in your house for your fax machine. You had a line in the house that was the main phone line when people would call your house. Oh, this is the Tucker residence. And then you had a line in your house for your internet, maybe, or there was like if you had teenage kids, you had a line. So people had 4 or 5 lines in their home. So that's wireline. That's the telecommunications wireline industry, and then the industry evolved, and now no one has a house phone, right? So everything is wireless, and so that evolution and being like flexible enough and nimble enough to sort of evolve with that. And so like the industry changes, like you said, in personal care, Ebony, like the industry changes and you have to be flexible enough to change with the industry. I see you use a lot of social media tools to promote your business, Ebony, and I started following you too, Cora. I started following your business page. I see you guys use a lot of social media tools. You guys are actually like evolving with the industry because things are changing, and that's something that as entrepreneurs you have to do, right? So that's one of the things that I can speak to on that point.
Yeah. So I now want to jump into the present, and we are all living through it right now. But we're in a pandemic. So I have individual pandemic questions for each of you all. So I want to start off with Cora. You founded your company in December 2019, and I'm sure that was a massive leap of faith, very exciting, and then a pandemic. How have you had to change your business model? Because I'm sure there was, a lot of preparation leading up to December 2019. So did that have to shift? Can you just speak on that?
Oh, Jasmine, all of that and then some. So before launching, Young King, we spent about a year and a half doing product formulation development, coming up with our branding, all of the things that it takes when you're trying to, build the ground up for launching a business. And so we did all of that. We get to December 2019 to launch, and we did so at an event that happened here in Atlanta. It was the Essence Target Holiday Market Festival. So that was our first time introducing Young King to the world, which was really exciting. We had a booth, everybody came by, it was great. So we're like, okay, we're starting off right, we're rolling. So, going into January and February, of course, it's Black History Month, it's New Year. So we were just doing all of these events, right? I think for us, being in the hair care industry, beauty industry, people want to kind of touch, feel, see your product. So we knew that was important and want to know kind of the face, the family behind the brand. So we wanted to share our story. So we were just doing a ton of events. Like that was literally kind of our go-to-market strategy, is that we're just going to do all of these events to introduce, our community to Young King. And then of course, COVID hit, right? everything's canceled. All of the events that we had planned lined up through the end of the year canceled. And so we got to a point where we were trying to figure out, like, what are we literally going to do? Because this business will survive. Like, there was no doubt about it. Like, we were not going to fold. This was going to work. And so we pivoted, and we pivoted in a way to really focus on what is our digital marketing strategy going to be. That's something we knew we needed to activate, and it's something we knew we needed to do. But, you know, again, we were just focused on kind of the events aspect of our marketing plan and strategy. So once we decided, okay, since we can't physically connect with people, we need to do it in a digital way. So that's when we really started researching, literally Googling, you know, how to do paid social ads, how to do paid search through Google. You know, what are all of these other kind of digital channels that we can tap into to really connect with our community and get our brand out there. And we did it. We did that very quickly, and did it to the point where we actually, you know, started to increase our digital ads and ended up selling out of our products. We had 6 months worth of inventory and sold out of it in about 4 weeks. And so for us, you know, in that moment when COVID happened and you have a business, again, it goes back to just that hustle mentality and spirit. You just have to figure out what's going to work for you and adjust accordingly. There's no time to kind of wait and see what the market's going to do. Maybe this COVID thing will go away soon. No, you gotta re-strategize and come up with a game plan. And that is exactly what we did.
Yeah, I love that quick pivot, that quick thinking. Conchita, so being in telecommunications, and I have a background in media and technology, I very much am aware of like what you do. And I think that when this pandemic hit, like, and it really shut down everything, I feel as though you were probably even more busy than before, because we're talking 5G, we're talking a lot of people streaming. There's so many things going on. And then you're also managing all these 250 professionals. Can you talk a little bit about what your world looked like, what pivots you had to make?
Yeah, so I can tell you that we thought that, you know, or I thought that this wasn't going to be this long, right? Like I did not imagine that we would be in the pandemic for this long. I thought it would be just a couple of weeks. And so, you know, initially we said, okay, great. Our teams were grounded because everyone was grounded. And then once it went longer than 2 weeks, they were like, well, people got to get back to work because our teams make sure that everyone, all of us can connect this way. And so people getting back to work, you know, it was actually a high demand because they needed to make sure that the network was up, the network was running, there was increased capacity on the network. And so things were really, really, really busy for that reason. A lot of the 5G projects, believe it or not, those projects were sort of put on the back burner because 5G is a new technology. It's a different technology. I'm not going to bore you guys with sort of like how the technology of 5G works. We can do that on another panel for the nerds in the group who want to do that. But nonetheless, 5G was put on the back burner. It was more about like, hey, let's keep the network up. So that was extremely difficult for us. And then I'm old school. Like I used to get up every morning and go to an office and like, you know, hey guys, you're going here, you're going there. And we had to do it all digital. We had to do it all virtually. That was the biggest challenge for me, is sort of transitioning from being where I had my core team in a physical office with me in New York City to being able to direct my team virtually. And so that was like a personal learning curve that I had to overcome. So that was probably the biggest challenge that we saw, is just me sort of getting over the personal challenge of learning how to manage my team virtually opposed to manage my team, you know, in person. And then as far as the field is concerned, where our teams are out in the field, they are largely always remote when we had tools to kind of keep track of them, but just making sure that they understood sort of the the importance of their role now in a world where everyone is connecting virtually, opposed to where, maybe a portion of our lives were connecting virtually. It was extremely challenging, but lots of fun. And once I finally got on board, it was, we were able to step up to the challenge.
Yeah. And I even mentioned, like, we're all using this technology in order to connect with each other, to work, school. So Ebony, you, as you mentioned, you have brick and mortar, and I follow your company. You all are amazing. Your product line is awesome. I've actually brought some supplies as well in the past. So everything is going well for you. And then obviously, all of these stores, beauty lines had to kind of, like, not beauty lines, but beauty shops had to shut down. I'm one of those people, I get my nails done every 2 weeks. Like, I'm always, like, doing my thing. And then it's just like, okay, I have to do this myself. So what was that like for you in regards to shifting that model, but then also making sure that you were having that connections with your clients that you're used to seeing on a regular basis? Like, and you want to make sure when you reopen that they were still there. So can you speak a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for purchasing and supporting. And yes, it was definitely really scary to be told that your business is considered non-essential and you're forced to close and you don't know for how long. You already are going into this thing where it's like a pandemic. Like, okay, I'm familiar with an epidemic, but a pandemic, like, this is happening in my lifetime. So you go through those emotions, and then you're told your non-essential business has to now close. So it was a very, very scary time, especially because we are based in Virginia. So our governor said that we had to close for, initially it was like 2 months. So it was like, whoa, that is not, and especially for Black women and women of color, we'd like to get our beauty services done, especially our hair. And usually people are on a regimen, and usually that's every 2 or 3 weeks, so it was all just really scary. So we really had to focus on the things that were tangible. And so those things for us were dependent, well, most of the stylists, everyone has different specialties at my salon, but most of us do offer wig units. So that was one of our biggest sellers that we didn't realize. We knew that, it was a profitable product, but it really showed how profitable it was during that time, because even though women were stuck at home and couldn't leave, there's some women that still, had to work from home and still needed to be presentable for their new virtual, workplace. So they contacted us, like, listen, I need a new wig. So we really stepped up that department. And then it was like, okay, we can push this even a little further. And there were women who had existing wigs that may have, would have usually come into the salon to get them serviced or, fixed and then installed. So we started to accept women mailing their wigs to us to have them, customized, whether that's just a wash and style or colored or, retightened, and then we will mail it back to them. Some women would be, hesitant of that part of it. It was a blessing that we were able to send them their wigs or customize them for them. But then it became, oh man, what do I do with installing it? So then that pushed it even further. So now we have this tangible product of being able to work on their wigs without coming in contact with them. Now let's push it even further and let's do one-on-one FaceTime or Skype consultations to kind of show them how to apply their wigs and how to, do it themselves at home. So that became a huge part of the business. And then I do have my leave-in moisturizing cream. So, for women who didn't wear wig units, they really wanted to focus on their hair. So then we pushed the Hairista cream even more. So it was like, listen, you're stuck at home, but you still got to keep your hair healthy. So, we would sell that. And then along with that, we were offering free Skype consultations again. So really had to focus on the things that were tangible and pushing it virtually. So it was scary, but it's definitely been an eye opener for our business for sure.
So it seems like from through you all, like, different lines of business kind of opened up out of this and being innovative. Vince, I'm so curious, like from your perspective, what new resources have you noticed have, been like have popped up for entrepreneurs during this time?
So I want to start out by saying that I'm so impressed and blown away by these last three comments on pivoting. That is crazy, because this is it's exactly the type of sort of DNA you need, and sort of flexibility of mind that you need to not only to survive a situation like this, but to get into entrepreneurship, period. And one of the things that we emphasize to folks who we are counseling is that entrepreneurship and business ownership is sort of all about the pivot, because it's highly unlikely that any business that you get into is going to be the same 5 years down the road, or maybe even 2 years down the road, as the one that you thought you created when you started this thing. So all that's very important. In terms of resources for times like this, resources for times like this are to a large degree the same as the resources for times outside of this. And one of the things that many people who are considering starting a business don't realize, and for that matter, a lot of people who are in business, who just sort of jumped into business, don't realize, is that there are a lot of resources out there. There are so many entities that are in place to help people start and grow businesses that it's almost chaotic. It's almost overwhelming how many of it there are out there, and it's a matter of knowing where they are, knowing how to connect with them, and realizing that one of the things that is most critical to starting and running a business is knowing that you don't have to do it alone. Again, before I get to the direct answer to the question, is one interesting thing about business ownership and entrepreneurship is sort of a twofold thing, sort of positive and negative. One is that small business ownership among people of color is actually higher than non-people of color. So it's an area that we sort of specialize in. But the other thing is that, generally speaking, small to medium entrepreneurship and business ownership has, for the last probably 10 years, been declining, not growing. So this is, even in a time like this, it's sort of a good opportunity to start a business, because if you have the intelligence and the perseverance and the stick-to-itiveness, you can get in on the ground floor for some things. And as far as the pandemic and getting a start now, there are things like, so those of you on the call may be familiar with this organization called SCORE. Anybody know SCORE? So it's a great example. So SCORE is a national organization. It's a nonprofit organization, and all they have is hundreds of volunteer, I'll put in quotes, consultants, people who have been in business that are there to help people start businesses. The largest SCORE office actually in the country is the one in Norwalk, and I've dealt with them myself. So what you do is you go into the SCORE office, and they assign you I guess they call them counselors. They assign you a SCORE counselor. So you have a SCORE counselor, and SCORE has a series of workshops and seminars, etc. And they will do two things. One is they will walk you through step by step how to start and scale a business. And your counselor is someone who you can set up meetings with for as often as you want, monthly, weekly, or whatever. And they will then bring in other people who have been in the business space that you are in to help you give advice on customer acquisition, social media marketing, finance and accounting, etc. So one of the things that and SCORE in most markets is either has a relationship, or in some cases is actually in the same physical building as a small business administration. And just coincidentally, sometimes the SBA and another entity called the SBDC, the Small Business Development Corporation, sometimes those offices, those regional offices, are actually on the campuses of community colleges. So there's a whole ecosystem out there of folks that you can get help from if you just know that they're there. And all of them, all of the ones that I've talked about, are free. Right. So it's not like, pay somebody to help you. You walk into a SCORE office, it's completely free. The classes are free, et cetera, et cetera. All you need is the time. And if you're already in business, you might actually not have a lot of time, because business takes a lot of time. But certainly if you're aspiring to get into business and if you need some help, what you do is you go to one of these entities, because they only exist to build entrepreneurship, to launch businesses, to scale businesses. So my advice for people who are having issues in COVID, is, in addition to the types of things that the other panelists have talked about, is do some exploration, or call somebody at a college or call somebody like me, and they can point you to those resources out there who are literally sitting at their desk waiting for people to walk in and get help, because they will give them help. So so folks like Ebony and Cora, who have, or especially Ebony, I'm Cora, are you brick and mortar, or are you not brick and mortar? No. Okay.
No,
okay. Okay, so especially for like Ebony, I mean, so everything brick and mortar has been devastated by this whole pandemic thing, and that's one of the things that you have to be prepared for. There are small pivots, there are black swan pivot events, and the best thing is to go into it knowing that something is going to happen eventually, or even soon, and just have the mindset to deal with that. Have the sort of the mission-driven internals to say, well, whatever happens, it's not going to close me down, and then to know who you can go to for help like that, either help from an advice standpoint, or help from the standpoint of pointing you to where you can get money. Because believe it or not, there's actually a lot of money out there for small business, a lot of money waiting for people to walk in and get for small business. You just have to know how to navigate toward those things.
Yeah. So I kind of want to piggyback off of the information that you just shared. I'm curious from Conchita, Ebony, Cora, like if there were any external resources that you all had used specifically during this time. If you have, which ones? And then if you haven't, is it something that maybe you didn't think about, or was just like, I want to be strategic and have I have this plan? Can anyone speak on that? Anyone can jump in first.
So in terms of external resources, we definitely did PPP. We applied for that and received some funding there. We also, interestingly enough,
the full name of PPE, just for the people who are not maybe aware.
Sorry?
What's the full, what is the full term for PPE, just for people who are not aware?
Some payroll protection, something, I don't even know the acronym, to be completely honest.
Anyone know?
It's payroll protection program.
Yes, okay, payroll protection, exactly what Conchita said. So we applied and did that. But I was going to say, interestingly enough, we launched again in December, and then in January, we were actually applied and accepted into Target's accelerator program. So the retailer Target, we were able to participate in their accelerator program, which was huge for us. And through that program, we certainly, it allowed us to have access to different resources that Target provided. So they put us in touch with 1863 Ventures, and we participated in their program for small businesses. They put us in touch with New Voices Foundation and Fund, and we were able to leverage their network of resources and information. So I would say for us, being a part of these different programs and groups, exactly to Vince's point, where they're literally trying to help you as you shape and grow your business, that was huge and kind of game changing for us and paved the way to be a part of these networks that then connect you with other groups and resources. And what I appreciate about that is too, for groups like 1863 Ventures and the New Voices Foundation/family, they solely focus on entrepreneurs of color. So unlike some of these other kind of accelerator programs or groups where it's just kind of everything, I'll say, they understand our culture, they understand our community, they understand the importance of generational wealth within our community, and so they are solely dedicated and focused on how we're creating that for Black businesses. And so I would just encourage anyone, especially if you have, any type of startup, to kind of look at those programs and opportunities.
Wow, that's amazing. Ebony, do you have anything to share on that?
Yes, luckily we were able to kind of navigate financially through the beginning part of the pandemic, before that new business venture kind of, was rebirthed with the wigs and the products and things. I had considered doing the PPP initially. Like I kind of was thinking about it, but wasn't really sure because I had heard that there was some parts of it you had to pay back, and then there were other parts that you didn't. So I did have to do my research.
Okay.
I did eventually apply for a grant that was that we were approved for. So that was a blessing. And now currently I am trying to do some research because there's some new things that I want to do within the business that I am doing my research now with applying for grants for women of color and small businesses. Like Vince and Cora said, there's so many programs that are out there that it's to the point where it's almost overwhelming because you don't know really where to start, because there are so many grants that are geared toward people in business, and especially people of color. So yeah, that's kind of where we were.
Conchita, do you have anything to share on any resources?
Yeah, I think we did apply for the PPP like Cora did, and so we were able to get some financial relief, which was helpful for us because we did have, a stretch of time when our teams were grounded because everyone was grounded before they went back to work. So that was helpful. So that was a government resource. Since I'm in a B2B and I mostly B2 enterprise, so like my customers are mostly enterprise size customers. One of the resources that I've been taking advantage of recently are the National Supplier Development Minority Council. I'm getting the order of that mixed up, but it's a national thing that certifies companies like mine, or certifies companies that are owned by underrepresented minorities, and that it allows you to connect with the buyers or the sourcing and procurement and supplier diversity people at enterprise-sized customers. So that's been a great resource for me during this time, because usually you're out and you can go, oh, hey, can I take you to lunch? Can I take you to dinner? Can I come and meet you for coffee, and doing networking that way? It's harder to do it this way. So they've been doing a lot of programs for companies like mine to connect with those buyers and have virtual meetups and other resources. And so that's been good for us, and from a business development perspective, is to be able to use them as a conduit to connect with new customers. So they've been super valuable to us during this time, and I think they're a good resource. And there's the Women We Bank, I think is what it's called, so Women Business Enterprise Corporation. They're also really good in creating events and making connections for companies that are women owned. And so those are the resources that I'm trying to exploit now. And like Ebony said, there's so many. And so you have to decide, okay, this is what I'm going to exploit right now, because this is appropriate for me or germane to sort of whatever my business strategy is, opposed to like doing everything at the same time. Because the biggest resource the two biggest resources that entrepreneurs are strapped for are time and money. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, as little money as we have less time. So figuring out how to spend your time is probably the most important thing. And so like saying like, okay, I'm going to exploit these resources, or I'm going to look into these resources and try to take advantage of those is very important so that you use your time wisely.
Yeah. So you all dropped some amazing resources. I know they're being dropped in the chat. So we have PPP, we have, was it We Act? And the we'll drop them all in the chat, the comments. We'll make sure that everyone has those resources handy. So I think that it would be, very naive to think that this pandemic or what is happening within this last year wouldn't have or set an imprint on your company, on you as a leader or founder for years to come. I'm curious this is very much, thinking a little bit long term in the sense of like, how do you see your company being impacted negatively or positively within the next 3 to 5 years? What do you think that will look like in regards to the impression that COVID, this pandemic, will set on your company? Ebony, can you go first?
I would say that with my industry, it's kind of hard to answer because it is it's a service industry, and I will say that COVID definitely taught me a lot. Although they labeled us as a non-essential business, it definitely showed once we were able to open again how essential we really are. Right. All of the stylists had been booked out for months after we were able to open again. So I think that while having to close was it had such a negative initial impact, I think long term, it made us a little more resilient and showed us that, hey, once we are open again, we're able to, move with the times and be able to service our clients again. So, I'm going to go into it just saying, I'm thinking all positive thoughts for the next 3 to 5 years. And being closed, even just those couple months that we had to close last year, just like I said, made us more resilient. So I know how to kind of navigate it the next go round if we have to go through this again, but thinking all positivity.
Yes. And how about you, Vince? I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I like to sort of piggyback on Ebony's situation because there's a couple thoughts in there for me, and that is that especially for what I'll call community-based brick and mortar businesses, and I have a personal example of that because while I don't own one, I have a brother in Chicago that does. So he and his wife own a yogurt shop. Now, talk about a non-essential business. Frozen yogurt is not something that was going to naturally survive and thrive through the pandemic. But one of the things that was important for them, especially being Black folks who owned a business in the community, was community goodwill. They are sort of pervasive they live in Evanston, just north of Chicago. They are very visible in the community. They have a great reputation. They've done things like led this thing where they do a tour of Black businesses in Evanston. And the point here is that especially if you're a community business owner, a lot of your survival has to do not only with the business itself, but with the entrepreneur and what you mean and how you are a face to the community. So one of the reasons why, for example, Ebony was able to survive, and one of the things that a lot of businesses should look at in terms of their long-term viability is what is their personal brand to the community that they serve. And if that brand is strong enough and credible enough, then customers will stick with them. Customers will pull for them. Customers will do things like they did with my brother. They'll come into the store and they'll say, "Oh, I'm so glad that you weren't having to close because of COVID, because you are a fixture in the community. So, so an insight for people whose business is tied to the community, whose customer base not only is local, but whose customer base literally sees the business owner, him or herself. It's important for them to understand what they mean and what their personal brand means to the community. So, so my overall response to the question about how you survive over the long term is, pay attention to your personal brand, market yourself to your customer base, and get connected to all the people who will be sort of pulling for you and help you when things like this happen.
Yeah, totally. Cora, can you speak on the impression you feel as though this pandemic, COVID, will leave on your company within the near future?
Yeah, and before I do that, Vince, thank you so much for saying that. I think I just kind of want to underscore it, because I think that was so relevant for us through the pandemic, even though we were a new brand. Because for us, we were very intentional to align the community that we were serving with our purpose and mission. And so by being out there and talking about our mission, talking about our purpose, even as a new brand, tenfold we saw that come back in the community that we built, as well as in our sales. So I gave the example about, we ran through 6 months worth of inventory in 4.5 weeks, even though we were a new brand, because we put ourselves out there. Me, as the founder, my son Cade, my husband, a family-owned business, really creating a product for boys of color, because we recognize that they were not represented in this industry. And we recognize, especially with all this social injustice happening, that we wanted to celebrate and uplift, Black and brown boys. And so by getting out there and sharing our mission, our vision, our purpose, that's what really helped to foster and create this community where people were literally rallying for us and championing us and sharing with their friends of friends of friends and their family. So anyways, thank you for saying that, Vince, because that was totally true for us just within our first year of business. In terms of, COVID and pivoting and what that means, years from now, I think we certainly recognize how important digital will play across, I would say, any industry, whether, Conchita, you were talking about from just a workplace standpoint and how you are working with people virtually, to just even marketing. I think, with in-person events, we don't know when those will happen again. With, those opportunities that come when you're able to meet face-to-face with people, we just don't know when that's going to happen. And so I think by focusing and looking at your digital strategy and how that will play out this year, 2 years from now, and coming up with your game plan for that and innovative ways that you can still reach people across this country, across this globe in a digital format. That's something that we're constantly always thinking about and shaping that as a part of our business strategy and planning. And so, again, for us, it's all around how are we continuing to accelerate growth, but doing it using these digital channels.
Yeah, thank you. And I also want to just highlight for the audience that Cora's Young King hair care is in Target. She mentioned that before, but just a little plug there for you.
I appreciate that.
Conchita, can you speak on the impact COVID may have on your company within the near future?
Yeah, I think, and I have to say personally, because it's probably going to be less on my company because we're in the infrastructure business. And so 5G is a build out that is expected to be huge over the next really 10 to 15 years. So its impact on COVID is only impacting in the sense that like people are recognizing, wow, we really need to make sure we have the infrastructure to support a digital world even more so. So 5Gs continue to happen. What I can say on me personally is that for me, it helped me recognize that you can manage a business virtually, right? Like you can, for me, you can manage a business virtually. And it also helped me recognize that there's entrepreneurship through acquisition, right? And so like one of our business strategies that we've been working on now, and it's because I had this enlightenment period, this eureka moment, I would say, during the pandemic, initially when things got quiet, is that entrepreneurship isn't necessarily always starting something from scratch, but it is through acquisition. I was lucky enough to initially acquire this business from my father, who founded it, but there are other people who have businesses that are thriving, who don't have children who are interested in acquiring their business, or who don't have a succession plan. And so this has helped me look at how to change my perspective on entrepreneurship and look at entrepreneurship through acquisition. And so one of our strategies now is to grow through acquisition, and that is because of the pandemic. So like our business doesn't change per se because of the pandemic, so outlook isn't changed, but like I've changed, and our management team has changed, and I think that, you know, believe it or not, we're coming out of this pandemic stronger professionally as well.
I think that is such a great point. Like, I think M&A is just like such a great point to hit on, especially from your perspective. And hopefully Harissa and young King Hair Care will have that opportunity in the near future. I think that'll be really cool. But Conchita hit on something that I kind of want to tap in with everyone. I think you all hit on it in regards to, like, you know, the bootstrap mentality. And, you know, it's very much about like, you're thinking about yourself. But when it comes to you all as a leader, as a team, Ebony, you have a bunch of stylists that work under you, and Cora, like right now, it's a smaller team, but still, like, you have that leadership. Like, what does that look like? And Conchita, you have over 250 people that are working with you. So how is a leader? What does that look like? Especially like, you know, we're all human and we're dealing with this pandemic and the various ebbs and flows of it. So can you all speak on that as a leader? What that has that impacted you? How do you motivate your team moving forward? What does that look like? You start with Ebony if you're.
That's a good question. I would say for my business, it actually has kind of made us a little closer, because sometimes you know, when you're fighting in the mud through something, you know, you have like this glorious moment, like, wow, we really overcame this. You know, if we can do this, we could do just about anything. So for me, because it is a service-based industry, and, you know, we're more of a hands-on type of, you know, business with my team, you know, it's definitely been a lot of let's reaching out to each other, you know, checking in, you know, hey girl, how are you doing? You know, you need help with anything? You know, it's definitely been a really, you know, enlightening and, you know, personal experience for us stylists. So just trying to keep each other motivated and letting everyone know, like, you're not in this alone. We're doing this together. And yeah, so basically just trying to work through it together. So not only just for the other stylists, but definitely for our clients too. You know, I could definitely tell once we reopened, so many clients missed us so much. So it was just like, girl, let me fill you in on my life. You know, not only am I missing my hair services, but I'm missing our conversations. So just making sure that we're staying connected, you know, because the beauty industry is more than just beauty. You know, we touch each other's lives, you know, with conversations. So really communication has gotten so much better. I've noticed through this. So just staying connected.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Cora, can you speak on that? I know you co-founded your company with your husband, I believe you said. So what does that look like?
Yeah, so our team is really, really small. We're not at 250 yet, Conchita, but we're going to get there one day. So right, claiming it. So right now I'm full-time on the business. My husband still has his full-time job and doing the business, you know, part-time, tapping them in. And then we kind of outsource for additional other needs. So we work with kind of a marketing agency. We work with an email marketing agency, and I have someone doing my social right now. And so again, our team is small. We outsource people. So, you know, I think in terms of managing that, that's really just continue to communicate with them and having those open lines of communication. And what I've learned in this journey is being okay with having those really tough conversations with your partners. I think, you know, what I had to realize is that, you know, yes, we're all in this together. Yes, they want to see us win because ultimately that's how they make their money too. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure that what they deliver meets my expectation. And if it's not, telling them that and communicating that in a way so that we can do better. And so leadership for me is learning that it's okay to have those tough conversations, especially with people that I'm paying, and then working together to kind of come up with a solution or result. So that's what I've been learning along this path, and hopefully we'll continue to just grow, and especially as we grow and expand our team, because we'll be hiring soon, to just make sure that we can just have those open lines of communication and let each other know that it's okay to have tough conversations.
Yeah. Conchita, can you speak on that?
Yeah. This has actually really been a challenge for me because it is really hard to inspire. It's much more difficult to inspire people virtually because you get 30-40 minutes of like attention, like their attention span starts to wane after a while. So this has really been a challenge for me, inspiring my team. And so oddly enough, what I've gone away from is less Zoom calls, so less video calls, and having to talk to people and talking in more. Let's connect when we need to. Like, let's see your output. If you have questions, call me. And if you have questions, we can get on the call and a video and we can go through everything. But if you don't have any questions, I'm not going to put something on the calendar just for the sake of having something on the calendar, right? Just for the sake of having it. So during this time, the way that my leadership style has evolved is to sort of actually give people more room to grow. Like I tend to be, unfortunately, a micromanager. Like, I have to be in control. Like, I want to know what you're doing. I want to know. But I actually had to step back and sort of, and this was something that evolved through the pandemic. I didn't start off this way in March and April. Through the pandemic, I got to the point where I was like, oh, wow, I'm getting better results when I'm being less overseeing everyone. I'm getting better results when I'm giving people the room to sort of grow and use their own brains and their own creativity. So that is something that has evolved in terms of my leadership, and then being able to inspire folks in that regard. And again, hearing Ebony and Cora talk about their journeys, I still feel like I want to sit at their feet and learn from them, because I'm just so inspired by starting something from scratch and kind of going through that process of hey, I'm going to do it this way, and I'm going to use this way to use this method of reaching people, like the digital marketing stuff. It's all brand new to me. And using those tools to sort of grow your business, and using contractors and outsourcing. Again, these are new tools for me that I want to learn from the true entrepreneurs on how to use those.
Yeah. So this is my last question. It'll be Cora. No,
I was just gonna say we'll all learn from each other. We all gonna learn together.
And then so quickly, Vince, can you just drop in regards to, we're going to go to some audience questions. We have quite a bit, and I just want to kind of do like a lightning round with everyone. But Vince, can you just speak on the characteristics or what leaders should be really honing in during this time as they're leading a team?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One is that, and I'm going to sort of bring the a previous Cora comment into this. When she was giving her profile and said, she didn't know that she wanted to be in entrepreneurship because she was in the corporate world and getting promotions, et cetera. And the interesting thing is that leadership in entrepreneurship is not fundamentally different from leadership in the corporate area. So you still have teams, you still have to motivate, and part of what can be what I'll call training for leadership in owning your business is actually all the stuff that you have to go through to lead people and to lead teams, even in a corporate environment. And so one of the things that happens in that environment and in owning a business is being able to make people understand that stuff happens, and to be able to keep them motivated through stuff happening. Conchita was saying that at first she didn't want to be into entrepreneurship because it was about a lot of different things, and that's the thing about owning your business. It's not just about going out and selling a neat idea. It's about a lot of things. It's about the maintenance of the facilities. It's about this, it's about that. And one of the things that it's about is people leadership. So whether you have a team of 250 or whether you have a team of 10, or for that matter, whether you have a team of 5, it's all managing people. And you have to have that skill. You either have to come into it with that skill set or learn it fast, because everything you do is through your teams, through your people. And so leadership qualities, and for that matter, maybe spending some time getting some leadership training once you get into a business, and that small amount of time that you can carve out is very important. So it's keeping ahead about yourself. It's keeping focused on your mission, being able to translate your mission and your passion to your people, like a couple of the other panelists have said. And if you can do that, and if you can get them to buy into the mission and the need to keep it going, that's I think that's best. I actually had another comment on acquisition, going back to Conchita, but I know we're running tight on time here, so maybe that'll come up in the audience questions.
Okay. Okay, so we do have a ton of questions. So I just want to thank the audience for just being like so engaged. There are some awesome questions. So I'm just going to ask like one of you each of like these different questions, because I want to be conscious of time. So Conchita, and I know Conchita personally. She is like just so actually I have another question I'm going to ask, not Donna yet, but she is spectacular in every single role that she holds, and like everything is stellar work. So Conchita, can you just, and she mentioned that she has a son. Can you just quickly talk about like time management for being a president and all these different roles that you hold? Like we had a question in the chat in regards to the time management.
Yeah, I think time management is evolving. It's something that that is not something that sometimes I get it right and sometimes I get it wrong. When I do get it right, this is what I notice that I'm doing correctly is I have a plan, right? Just straight up the night before, I know what I'm doing the next day. That's it. So like, I'm not waiting to wake up in the morning and be like, okay, what do I have to do today? I'm looking at the day before. I'm like, okay, tomorrow I have X, Y, Z. Okay. And if I have to cancel things on my calendar or move things around, I do that the night before. That's when I get it right. I get it wrong a lot. And when I get it wrong, I notice that I don't have a plan. I'm winging it. I'm waiting to do something. The other thing that when I get it right, one of the things I notice is I say no. I say I can't do something rather than saying I can do something and then forgetting to do it, not doing a good job on it, or doing it late. When I say, hey, these are the things I can do because these are things I do well, That's when I get it right, but I get it wrong a lot.
Well, it's so flawless, no one ever notices when it's wrong. Okay.
I never would have thought that I'm sorry to chime in. I never thought, because like you said, you effortlessly, handle so many different roles within the sorority, and I know with your business. So it's definitely something, to aspire to. So I just had to add my little 2 cents to that.
Yes. Like, you need to write a book. Now it was Shonda Rhimes say yes, it's Conchita no. Like, period. Okay.
That's when I get it right. You guys don't know what's behind the scenes. Talk to Lisa.
Okay. Can we populate the next question? I did see a question specifically for Cora. I'm looking at my phone, so I think I'll just go for it. Cora, can you talk about the progress of how to get your product into Target, into other stores?
Yeah, so, a couple things. I think, so I'll say this, our story is unique because, as I mentioned earlier, we participated in the Target Accelerator program. And so we had access directly to not only Target leaders, but to the buyer of our category. So we were able to cultivate a relationship with the buyer. At the time before COVID became COVID, we were up at Target headquarters for a week, being able to have those conversations and just kind of talk through things, which then months later paved the way to actually have a formal line review meeting where you're talking specifically about your products getting into store and what that means. So that's kind of unique because we were able to establish those relationships early. But what I do like to tell people is, regardless of how you get connected with a buyer from a retail partner, whether that's Target, Walmart, Walgreens, whatever situation, I think a couple of things that you have to keep in mind. One, first and foremost, supply chain. What does that look like for your company, especially a product-based company? Do you have a manufacturing partner? Do you have a fulfillment partner? How are you going to execute against any PO, purchase order, that you'll receive from a retailer? Because you have kind of one shot, right? You have to make sure that you're shipping on time and you're shipping the right amount. And those POs will come at you fast. And so if you don't have your supply chain in order, then that's it. So they want to understand that you have that foundation. And then in terms of inventory, do you have enough inventory on hand to be able to fulfill these orders? And so if you kind of have your inventory together, you have your supply chain together, then they're like, let's talk. So I would say, before, reaching out to any retailer, making sure you kind of have your house in order, so that they feel confident that you can actually execute against any agreement that you have. If you're working kind of like locally, beauty supply stores, mom and pop type stores, that's totally different, right? And you can have different conversations with them in terms of, pricing and what that means, and making sure that you're aware of like what your margins will be when you have those conversations. But if you're looking at kind of mass, that's a whole different ball game. And so you just need to be prepared to deal with what comes from partnering with a mass retailer.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, what's our next question? We are so, look at us. Okay. So someone's asking this for Vince. Can you please share the organization you discussed? It was SCORE, and you didn't get the second one. They didn't get the second one.
Okay, I think there were a few, but one was called the SBDC, the Small Business Development Corporation, I believe it is, in addition to the SBA, the Small Business Administration. And which one of these will apply to you to some degree depends on scale. So some of them are deal with larger scale businesses and some with smaller scale businesses. SCORE itself is well, they're across the board. But if you are either a very small business or you haven't started one yet, especially if you haven't started one yet, that will be a resource for you, because that's sort of a from scratch, develop a business plan, decide if you have really what you need in you to even be a business person, and then they'll connect you with others. But the others were the Small Business Development Corporation, and there's one of those in every metropolitan area, multiple ones in states, and the SBA. And then there are a couple that I didn't mention, but that Conchita mentioned, and one of them is what is commonly called WeBank, which is WBENC, the Women's Business Enterprise Network, or something like that, specifically for women. So those are some of them, and even if you only know the small number of core ones, SCORE, SBDC, and SBA, they know every other one, but those are three to really keep in mind. Did we lose Jasmine?
Yeah, it looked like we lost her.
Huh.
She might.
There I am.
Okay.
Okay.
There she is.
Sorry, I had some internet issues. Okay, so we're gonna take one more question. It's just. So we'll give this to Ebony. Can you provide insight on how you funded your startup? What financial choices did you make?
For me, and I want this to come off right, but for me, I've always been kind of good with saving money. So I'm going to be just completely transparent. When the opportunity came for me to open my salon, which was kind of, I took over an existing salon that I was kind of working for, and the previous owner was ready to get out of the business. And so she quoted me a number, and it was probably about 6 months before she was ready. And I'm just going to be completely honest. I worked my butt off to save every dime to be able to fund that without having to take out any loans or anything like that. So
Wow.
that was definitely a blessing that I was able to do it just cash. But now trying to take my business to the next level, I am considering some of these grant programs that at the time, 7 years ago, I had no idea about. So that's kind of like where I am now, because there are some things that I want to do to kind of keep the business evolving, especially the brick and mortar side of it. So for me, it was just really saving and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears from the very beginning, for sure. So that was kind of how Harista got off the ground.
Yeah.
Can I just piggyback on that just briefly? Because that's a good point. And usually when you're borrowing money, your personal finances and what skin you have in the game is very important. So if you have money of your own, and in most cases you need money of your own, that's good. So building up of your reserves is great. I want to tie that into something else that she said, and in addition to the Conchita piece, and that's getting back to how you get into business and the whole acquisition piece of it. You businesses can start by you sort of thinking of something and starting something yourself, but a lot of opportunity to get into business is literally buying other people's business. And there are various ways to do that, and various financing scenarios in which you can do that. And then tying that back all the way to the question about what does getting into business look like in the area of COVID. One of the sort of hidden opportunities on COVID is that when things go down, that's a lot of times a good time to get into business. So between all of the literally tens of thousands of businesses that have closed because of COVID, combine that with the fact that there are always folks out there like the person who was the ex-owner of Ebony's Place who are looking to get out of business, and you can go on the internet and you can find websites of nothing but people who want to retire from their business and looking to sell. So there's all types of businesses that are available for sale. from retirees. So acquiring a business and doing the due diligence to pick up a good business is a great opportunity to become a business owner. And one of the sort of, not to make any kind of silver lining out of COVID, but one of the entrepreneurship silver linings is that there might be many opportunities to buy an ongoing business and to build it up from there.
Do you know any of those websites off the top of your head in regards to where people can look for where they're looking to be acquired? Or
not off the top of my head, but I've seen many of them and had files on them, and they're easy to find.
Okay, well, all right. Well, so I'll leave it with one last question. I do want to encourage our audience. What piece of advice would you give to a person who is contemplating entrepreneurship in any capacity, whether it's something that they're looking to acquire or start up themselves? If you could just leave one piece of advice, and then we'll close it out. Let's start with Conchita.
My advice is think big, but it's okay to start small. I think people think that they have to go to 0 to 100. You can have your eyes on the prize, but it's okay to start small. It's not going to happen overnight. Stick with it.
Yeah, Vince.
I would give a big second and thumbs up to what Conchita said. A lot of the best businesses start with a concept, and growing that from there, and doing something that is relatively low risk in terms of what happens if it doesn't work. So starting small is great. And the other thing is, I'd go back to touch on something I said earlier, which is understand that you don't have to do this alone. There are resources and mentors out there, and don't be so proud as to want to create something that was only your thoughts. There are a lot of people who can contribute thoughts to that, and have your own sort of board of directors, people who who you can trust, who can give you advice, because some of the most successful business people out there got there because they got advice by somebody else. They didn't think of everything themselves, and there are just many people out there who are anxious to help you. So between counseling and mentoring and all these resources, understand that your successful business will have a solar system around it, and take advantage of all those.
Yeah. Cora.
Yeah, that was great. I would just piggyback off events and say, definitely surround yourself with people, with champions, with partners that are going to encourage you, especially when you're going through those really tough, challenging days. So having your people to support you as an entrepreneur is critically important. And then the last thing I'll just say is just always remembering your why, and staying true to that. Everything from, remembering what your mission is for your business, your purpose for doing that, because that, again, will carry you throughout the course of your business. There are, I think a lot of times people, especially, in our Instagram age now, entrepreneurship looks so glorious and so exciting, and it's become like a movie, but it's really hard. If you didn't get that from any of us on this panel today, it is hard, it is a grind, and you have to have that hustle spirit mentality to get through some days. And so if you don't keep your why in front of you, your purpose in front of you, if you don't surround yourself with people to encourage you, then it just might not happen the way you want it to happen. So I would say all of that to just remember your why and surround yourself with people that can continue to lift you up.
Yeah. Ebony.
Yes, I totally agree. That just made me think about, I'm a forever Girl Scout. So one of our laws is using your resources wisely. So that's so important. And that saying of, if you're the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room. That is very true. So I would definitely say, stay and definitely staying inspired. Draw inspiration from any and everything. Like if there's a day that goes by that there was one thing that didn't inspire you throughout that day, then you need to be looking at the way that you're filling your days a little differently. just even something as simple as like I try to limit as much as TV exposure as I can since being at home. I do have my vices, but if I watching certain things, I'm trying to make sure that it's feeding into either me spiritually, personally, or professionally. Like there's one show that I was recently put onto that has like been a game changer to me. Like I feel like every time I'm watching it, I'm taking notes. And it's called Undercover Billionaire on Discovery Channel. I don't know if anyone is familiar with it, but there's billionaires that are coming to businesses that are struggling, and they really started it during the pandemic. So they're going into these struggling small businesses, from coffee shops to auto body shops, and they're going through the motions of telling them, like, listen, this is what you're doing wrong in your business. You're not going to be able to survive this pandemic. These are the things that you need to do. So just something as simple as a TV show for me, I'm gaining so much inspiration from it, and I'm learning. So you should always fill your days with some sort of inspiration, and using all those resources.
I love that. Okay, so really quick before we say goodbye, can you just drop where people can connect with you or learn more about your business with your website? Just want to leave everyone with a last touch base. Cora, you want to go first? The website or?
Yeah, happy to. Website is youngkinghaircare.com, and you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We even have a TikTok page. We're trying to get into that, at Young King Hair Care.
Awesome. Okay, Ebony?
My website is hairistastudio.com. So that's hair and then ISTA studio.com. And you can find me on social media. My personal page is Hairista or Hairista Studio, or for my product is Hairista Essentials, but it's all under Hairista.
Thank you. Conchita?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Conchita Tucker. Our website, tti-usa.co. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. Love connecting with folks and building my network.
Nice. And Vince?
You can find me on LinkedIn at Vincent Murphy, and also my email contact, which I just put in the chat, is vince@proceritasconsulting.com. It's PROCERITAS consulting, proceritasconsulting.com.
All right. Well, thank you all. You guys have dropped some gems. You guys have encouraged. I am encouraged. I'm about to go on some websites to see what companies I can acquire. I don't know. But I just thank you all so much. I just feel like a wealth of knowledge was just shared. And I'm so grateful for this community. I'm so happy that our chapter, Omicron Upsilon Omega, has put this together. I think it's phenomenal. We actually have a third episode coming out in early March, and that will be heavily promoted. Lisa, do you want to come back on? Thank you all, the panelists, for joining. This was awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, you're on mute, Lisa.
I'm working tech behind the scenes. So I was trying to be as quiet as possible, taking copious amounts of notes. I can't thank you all enough for an amazing program today. I think everyone has been inspired, great viewership. We will try to get all these resources down, all of your links. So folks who are watching, all of the links to the panelists has been dropped in the, their businesses was in the Facebook comment section. So you can click on it and follow them. I did not add their Facebook links. I'm sorry, you all were moving fast at the end. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your dedication. I wish you all the best in your continued success. Please, everyone who's watching, check out our third program. As soon as I can figure out how to drop that in the chat, I will. If not, it will be posted on our Facebook page. It is streamed live. If you didn't catch it all, please share it with friends. You can share that link. You can share it from our YouTube. The information was too critical and important to leave it inside this box, inside these boxes we call computers in our lives. So please share that, have conversations about what you've learned. And you can reach out to these folks for additional information. So enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Panelists, I have been immensely blessed. by your knowledge. And thank you so much for sharing. I look forward to more amazing panels in the future. Have a great afternoon.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Yes.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Bye.
If everyone can just hang back for a sec, we'll do a quick debrief. Thank you.